El Nino. La Niña. Derecho. Sound like we're in Spanish class? Well, believe it or not, these words all have to do with the weather. I'm WeatherBug meteorologist Rachel Peterson, and today's lesson is going to be on El Nino. Okay, so what is it and how does it affect us? Well, El Nino is the unusual warming of the Pacific Ocean near South America. South American fishermen named this phenomenon El Nino, which is Spanish for the Christ child. Hey, look at that. I guess we are learning some Spanish. Anyway, they name it El Nino because it comes around Christmas time and turns typically good fishing bad. Now, before we get too far into this, let's talk about what's normal. In the tropical Pacific, along the equator, the trade winds generally blow from the east. These winds tend to push surface water towards the west, and as the water moves west, the tropical sun heats it up. Meanwhile, along the coast of South America, deeper, colder water from the bottom of the ocean moves up towards the surface. Remember those South American fishermen? Well, this is what makes fishing there so great. The different water temperatures affect the type of weather each region experiences. There are rainforests in Indonesia, and there are deserts in Peru and Chile in South America. Now, El Nino happens when trade winds weaken, and they allow the warmer water from the western Pacific to flow toward the east, increasing the water temperature off the coast of South America. The changing water temperature also changes the weather. The clouds and rainstorms associated with the warm ocean waters also shift toward the east. Thus, rains which would normally fall over the tropical rainforests of Indonesia start falling over the deserts of Peru and Chile. This causes forest fires and droughts in Indonesia and flooding in South America. El Nino can have a huge impact on the weather far away from the equatorial Pacific. Warmer temperatures are also experienced in the northern plains. Stormier and wetter weather is in the southeast. And, of course, you guessed it, fewer hurricanes in the Atlantic. Global effects are things like Australia has more droughts and brush fires. The coral reefs die in the Pacific. Indonesia and the Philippines have their crops die for lack of water. As we move towards India and Sri Lanka, we experience drought and fresh water shortages. And in South Africa, people are faced with drought, disease, and malnutrition. Now you know how El Nino affects the weather, and depending on how strong or weak El Nino is, will depend on how dramatic the impact.